Yeah, let's dive into Salt Lake City then. What were your highlights here? Let's start with your first impressions of each of the characters that you were introduced with.
Oh God. Okay. Well, I'd say like in this episode, like the main characters are like Monica, Lisa, and Heather, right? Like they're the ones who have like the most going on. Like I know Whitney, has like her child's birthday party and a jewelry reveal, but those are kind of just backdrops to other people's drama. But yeah, I guess I'm trying to think. Monica is a bit kind of immature, like especially in her fight with Lisa, like, they're going at each other a bit, childishly, like the way she's mocking her. That's kind of how, like, I know Monica, like I'm sure the stuff with her mom is real and important to her, but she can be catty, it feels. Heather, sorry.
No, it's interesting that you kind of zoned in on the word childish, because it like that definitely characterizes her approach to this. But I think like one of the strongest themes throughout Salt Lake City this season and especially in this episode is this like it's kind of looking at the at motherhood and the relationship between like mother and their child through a lot of different like lenses throughout this season, and Monica's story, it is like central to that. Like she has such a complicated relationship with her mother, and to see her butting heads with Lisa and really regressing into like this childish state, I thought was a really interesting kind of manifestation of like how she handles conflict being so tied to her relationship that she has with her mother, because that's the person that she's used to like having to fight all the time. So she reverts to being the child that is fighting her mother, and I found it really interesting to see that crop up when she was fighting with Lisa.
So the fight, like I didn't see the previous episode, but I saw some footage and where they put Heather's head over a plant, which is a classic edit. Was the fight similar? Like the one that Lisa and Monica have, and the one Monica and her mother have?
It's not super similar. So we're trying to really get a read. Monica's a brand new housewife, so we don't have the same context that we have of the other women on this cast. We're just kind of getting to know her, and she's getting an edit that is like very sympathetic. It's painting her as very honest, and her conflict with her mother like stems back from when she was a child. She's got like severe abandonment issues, and her mother just like comes across like very much like a narcissist. So there's a lot of like deep-seated conflict that her and her mother have, and the main like fight that we see this season between Monica and her mother revolves around Monica bringing her mom to an event that Angie hosted, this Greek Easter that she had, and her mother not standing up for her in a fight, and being like apologetic on Monica's behalf, and just like not being her defender. And so that's another like conflict that has a lot more context within their relationship and their past. And you can see how, it might be something that you could blow off if it was kind of a one-time thing, but it clearly doesn't seem to be. It seems to be like a pattern, and that's what Monica's really upset about.
Yeah. Now, do we think Lisa has any grounds whatsoever to say the things she's been saying? In terms of like how she thinks Monica is using this abuse to abuse. Is there any, truth to that? Do we think?
I mean, the sense that I get, just like my personal reaction, and obviously this is very much colored by the lens that the editors, present the content with. But it seems to me very authentic. Like Monica comes across as very authentic, not just in this conflict, but also, you know, the spectrum of housewives that I have seen, you know, present this image of themselves in front of the camera. It varies from being like extremely phony to very authentic. And Monica is definitely on the authentic side of the spectrum in terms of how she comes across. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I feel like we haven't seen enough of her to make a final judgment on that. But her mother also seems very inauthentic and reminds me a lot of a housewife, Ramona Singer, who is very much a selfish, self-centered, narcissist personality.
Okay.
Did you have any other highlights from this episode?
Let's see. One thing I just wanted to comment real quick. I was kind of like not taken aback, but it was just like kind of jarring, like the talking head sections. Like how like it felt like a green screen, I think. And like especially definitely. Monica, she's wearing this extravagant like ball gown almost with these puffy shoulders and like she's all made up. It was just like I feel like when you watch like The Bachelor, you know, that's where I'm coming from, right? And it's like those, I feel like they try to make those sort of authentic and maybe in the moment at least appear that way. And so it's interesting to just be like, oh no, this is just they're in a different place. They've had their own makeup done for this specific shoot. That was just kind of a fun, jarring little bit of the show. I'm trying to think. Lots of Dr. Pepper shout outs in this one. I'm appreciative of that.
I was trying to figure out what was going on with that.
Yeah, like even at the jewelry thing, I'm like, what? Who's serving Dr. Pepper at this kind of event? I mean, the kids, it makes sense.
Is there caffeine in Dr. Pepper? If it's caffeine free, then that might explain it, because Salt Lake City would have us like a big Mormon population there.
There's caffeine in that. Not a lot. Probably like 50 milligrams, but per can.
Yeah. Weird.
I guess like Heather was interesting to me in that, like, coming in without context, I was like, is she Mormon? No, she's not. She's not Mormon. She's like happy her daughter isn't doing Mormon things, but she really cares what Lisa's doing. So that was kind of an interesting conflict. It kind of reminds me of, as an ex-Catholic, you know, I grew up, you know, raised in Catholicism or whatever. It, like, I do have these moments where like someone is like, who, you know, like says they're Catholic and doesn't do it right. I'm like, you know, that's not actually how you should be doing it. And it's like, what do you care? You don't even believe in God. Like, so I kind of get her. I get where she's coming from, but it was interesting to see that sort of that conflict happening. I don't think it was like super explored in this episode. You know, there's like she didn't get to go to the brunch. That was kind of the big thing, but they seemed fine. You know, it didn't blow up or anything. So that was good.
Yeah, it seemed like we almost got a little bit of resolution to that conflict between Heather and Lisa at Whitney's party, or it seemed like there was a little bit of peace made. But yeah, the relationship that Heather has with the Mormon Church is very like complicated, and she's left the church, but still very much concerned about the rules of what it means to be a Mormon and what it means to not be a Mormon, and the fact that Lisa doesn't really care that much and like is able to get away with not adhering to those rules as much as Heather feels like she should is really interesting.
Did Heather do something wrong and get kicked out, or she just left of her own accord?
Yeah, she left. Sandy, you can maybe correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe that she left when she divorced her husband. And I think that her family just like, and all her support network really sided with him and the church. And I think that's where it comes from, but I'm not entirely
got
sure.
Kicked out. Did she get kicked out when she got divorced because you can't get divorced? I can't remember, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah. I'm not sure, but I know that, so Monica similarly
Definitely got
has,
kicked
like,
out.
she was raised in the church, and I think she got kicked out, but her affair partner and her husband didn't get kicked out, even though they divorced. I'm not really sure how that all works.
Oh, God.
Shockingly, the women get the worst end of the stick.
Yeah. Yeah.
In Mormonism?
Very shocking.
What?
I know.
My God.
Did you have any other highlights in Salt Lake City, Zach?
Oh, wait. Well, two lines I kind of thought were funny. Monica's saying to Heather, like, literally ever since I said Lisa's materialistic, and Heather's like, she's ignored you. And it's like, yeah, well, don't do that. And then the very end of the episode, I think I didn't watch to the very end, but like for the next episode, I think Heather's asking Mary, like, do you think I look inbred? And then she says, I do.
That's a beautiful clip.
Have fun next episode. That'll be good.
You can be there too.
And
Zach.
that's coming from...
You can watch it for the rest of the season, for the rest of your life too.
Oh my God. We'll see.
And that's coming from Mary, who is married to her like step grandfather. So like she does have some authority on like what it means to be inbred, I guess.
I mean, it's step, I guess, but like still.
We got no Mary this episode. I'm sad for Zach.
Yeah, like you were talking about it last episode. I'm like, who the fuck is Mary? I was like, oh, she's in like a flashback saying someone flew out of a car and died. And I'm like, what?
She's got some sound bites. She doesn't like to go to any events, and she just had a fight with Whitney, so I guess she was not eligible for being involved in these.
She couldn't come to Bobby's party. She was gonna say some weird shit.
Exactly.
Sandy, what were your highlights from Salt Lake City?
Okay, Salt Lake City, I had a slow start. I wasn't too impressed with the episode. My husband was in the room. He never watches with me, but he was playing his computer game on the couch because we have a TV now in our living room. New, exciting development over here.
Woo.
So I was kind of disappointed because he was sort of paying attention. I'm like, this one's not really as good as usual. But at the end, the fight with Monica and Lisa really made it great. And that was throughout, but there was a build. So they started fighting at the roller rink, which I have to say, roller rink is a weird place to have a Hawaiian themed party, like no windowless, dark pit of a place. So that kind of freaked me out a bit. So, but yeah, the build up with Monica and Lisa was amazing. As you said, Zach, Monica is extremely childish, and she seems to know exactly how to get under the skin of someone like Lisa and perhaps her own mother. So that was really fun to watch. Lisa got in some jabs. Can't remember when, but she said something like, no one wants to be your mother or something. And that was pretty harsh.
Oh, yeah.
So they were going low. I did not appreciate the age shaming that Monica was doing to Lisa, but otherwise thoroughly enjoyed that fight. Yeah. And just the fact that they could not keep it together at this sound bath. As I've said before to Craig, this is my absolute favorite thing when like parties are ruined by absolutely absurd fighting. So I really enjoyed it. And there was this moment when they were talking, and I think Whitney had just said, everyone please be quiet, speaking specifically to them. And you could see them both stop for a second. But Monica had just gotten the last word, and you see this like look on Lisa's face. She's like, Monica, you just acting crazy. And she just couldn't stop herself. You just see it coming out of her. And I just thought that was beautiful. And I found Angie's involvement in this little situation was really odd. And I really want your take on that, Craig, because she kept saying like, I feel so uncomfortable. I'm just in the middle of this, guys. Like,
I know.
But you could walk away. No one needs you here. So I guess it was just like getting scene time. But I thought that was so weird because she was just kind of there, and we didn't need her, but I mean, it was kind of fun that she was forcing herself into that. So I loved it all.
Yeah, I was kind of confused why she was sticking around there as well. My gut is always to be like, oh, because Housewives is such an information game, it's like she wants to be there to see like what comes out, or if there's going to be something that's going to impact her, or someone like spews out something that she has said and like spills the beans on some shit talking that she's been doing. But it doesn't seem so far in the season that she really has any like secrets that she's kind of protecting that Lisa and Monica could potentially, ruin. So I don't know. Yeah, I think you're right, Sandy. I think it was just to be like, to have some screen time, and so that she wasn't just like awkwardly milling about, because there wasn't anyone else there from the cast aside from, Whitney, who was busy.
What does Whitney think? Like, imagines like, oh, this is what they think is important, not this whole jewelry event, which again is a set for this fight. It's like, and she just has to stand there and take it. And everyone in the room is like, okay, let it go. Let it happen. This is the scene.
That is. And there's a lot of pretty fake events that things happen at. So.
Oh, okay.
I feel like Whitney probably loves it. Whitney just loves chaos. That's one of the things I appreciate about her is, she is an agent of chaos and is constantly manipulating people to do her bidding. She's actually, I think, one of the only cast members on Salt Lake City that has that kind of calculated, like, chess player's mentality when it comes to approaching, like, being a housewife. She seems like she's the most calculated of the whole group. So I think that she would love it. I mean, it's more screen time for her brand. Like, I don't think she cares as much about the people in the room as the people at home. And, that fight guaranteed that this event is going to be shown. It's not just going to be, a flashback to this party that she had that they're referencing at some point. So I feel like she was, she obviously had to seem displeased, but I think she ultimately would be pretty satisfied with that.
Okay. She left like rubbing her hands like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Sandy, did you have any other highlights from Salt Lake City?
No, I don't think so. I'm good.
Cool.
What about you, Greg?
I think we covered most of like what I wanted to talk about. I thought that the relationship that Whitney has with her daughter is it was just a really sweet scene of her kind of like watching her daughter like grow up in a moment, like going through this glam process. I thought it was just a very like short aside, but I really loved seeing that, especially because I think we're getting a lot of dimension to Whitney as a character this season. We're seeing her trying to balance, her husband going back to work and her like role as like assuming a lot more household responsibility and, that just kind of falling into her lap and being undiscussed with Justin and him not really putting a lot of thought into just what gets put on her plate, while also trying to, launch a new brand. And being a Real Housewife, a reality person, is a job, and being in season. So I think that we are seeing we're getting a lot of layers to Whitney, and I just appreciated seeing that because I don't know. I feel like Whitney is very underrated. She's like my favorite on this cast, but I think that that's not really a sentiment that's shared across the fan base. So being able to see kind of a more well-rounded character evolve with Whitney is something that I appreciated.
Is she in more of the other episodes? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Whitney.
I was just going to say, I think
like. No, Whitney's a presence throughout the show, but I think the fan base seems mostly a little like lukewarm. No one's like calling for her to be off the show, really, but I also don't see her referenced as being one of like the marquee housewives here, like the stars of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, it seems to be like it was like the Lisa Barlow show, and I mean, prior to this season, it was the Jen Shaw show because like she was an icon, and now she's in jail. So, but yeah, I think that Whitney has kind of like flown under the radar. So I'm liking seeing her kind of get a more elevated profile this season.
Gotcha.